Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to another Tuesday night broadcast of Real Talk All the Time. 100% real, unpolished, unrehearsed, unapologetic, real talk with real people. With your hosts, myself, H.J. Morgan. We have Sine in the building, and our brother Rob Hall. Welcome back, everybody. Tuesday rolls around so damn fast, it seems like these days, but here we are. Yeah, right? The weeks are shooting by. But here we are on a Tuesday, and we're here to chop it up with you guys tonight. The main topic tonight is forced sterilization of women of color. And we're talking about HIV and AIDS in the black community. Very controversial topics. And we'll be chopping it up about that tonight at the top of the hour or close to the top of the hour. So bear with us. We're going to set it off with some sports, news, entertainment, and politics. And it's just been it seems like as each week goes by, more outrageous things take place than the week before. It's like the weeks have to top each other at this point. I don't know. It just really, really, really is. It just continues on like a runaway freight train of disaster here. It's just getting crazy, Sine. I mean, we think we've
always
seen
usually the main ingredient.
Yeah, we've seen something, and then here we go again. Something else. Somebody says something crazy, does something crazy. So a lot of things to cover, and we hope we can get into it and give you guys a great broadcast. The call-in tonight and every Tuesday night is 657-383-0612. Again, that's 657-383-0612. You press 1 to talk to us. And we do have the chat up and running. So chat is here, and the phone lines are open. I am going to set it off with this, some thoughts here. First of all, you had another devastating earthquake in Mexico within a couple of weeks apart from each other. The death toll is slowly rising there, thoughts and prayers with the people in Mexico that have to deal with these natural disasters that have hit them twice in a month. I find it so interesting that on the other side, you had Puerto Rico that has been hit twice in a month with hurricanes. The first one was devastating enough, and it seems like the second one really, really, really did the did the trick. So it's just really, really, really sad, and my heart goes out to the people of Mexico and people to the island of Puerto Rico. It's a sad situation, and they're getting help slowly, but I know at one point the entire island was blacked out. So, again, we have to give them our thoughts and prayers. What do you have on that, Sine?
Personally or just in general about Puerto Rico?
Yeah, about Puerto Rico. Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, personally, are you talking about my personal connection to it, or are you talking about
both? Give me your personal connection and your thoughts on what's happening there.
Okay, well, my personal connection is my father is Puerto Rican. He is from Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, which is a coastal town. It's to the north of the island, and every family member I have there has lost everything that they have. They literally have nothing. I have 3 family members flying over Friday. We don't know what they're going to be flying into. We haven't gotten to talk to anybody except for one person, so we don't have any fatalities in our family. Thank God.
Yeah.
But everything is gone, and it's pure devastation, and it's only by the grace of God that we did get some contact, because before they stopped people from coming in on their own at one time, some people got in, and a family member was able to use their some type of phone that they had, that they got service. I don't know if it was a phone or some type of radio or something. It was very choppy.
Right.
But they did get to make contact to let us know that they are, all right as far as being alive. But it's pure devastation. What you see on TV does not even, from what I was told, does not even bear witness really to what is going on over there. It really is like Katrina was here in 2005. I am worried, of course, personally. I am angered by the lack of help, the lack of assistance, the lack of attention. I don't understand why it takes days and days and days before people respond or move on certain things, and how they can devote their time to things that, to me, are trivial. When you're talking about life and death, we have elderly people over there, and we have young children over there as well. And it's just, when you have an island like that that's devastated, nobody over there is rich. Nobody over there is well off. So they need help. And I don't understand why we, when I say we, I mean the country, the government, are acting like that's not a part of the United States. Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the United States of America. They asked for statehood. They didn't get it. That's fine. But we still are a part of the states. And so the lack of concern and the lack of action just really angers me deeper than I can really express. I don't know what I expected, if I expected anything, but the callousness is just like beyond my scope of comprehension. So I'm praying not only for my family and my people that I know over there, I'm praying for everybody over there, and I'm praying for my family that's going over there and that they make it back safely, because they don't know what they're facing. And so it's like we didn't know to send things or to just send money or, where they're going to store these things. It's just a lot that has to be figured out once they touch down, and hopefully we'll still be able to have some type of contact with them.
Absolutely. Sine, I got somebody here that I asked to drop some information on PR. I'm going to bring them in here real quick, briefly. Hey, Fran, you're live, my dear.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, my dear, how you doing? Welcome back to the show.
I'm good.
You called in. Yeah, you called in a few seasons ago and joined us on the topic.
Yes,
I wanted to have you come back to just. You dropped some information earlier on your Facebook page that I think is pertinent. Dealing with this whole situation with PR and this terrible tragedy that has struck that island. You are yourself also a Afro-Latina, so I just wanted to get you in here to drop that information for us because I think it's very pertinent to what's going on. Can you share that info with us?
I missed a little bit of the show because I was just compiling so much information. I mean, I feel the same way as the previous caller. I'm just really disgusted by the U.S. response to this tragedy. I think it just speaks to the hypocrisy that they have dealt with Puerto Rico for so many years. Okay, where do I start?
Fine.
You know, Trump, Rump, as I like to call him, he blames the whole Puerto Rican crisis right now on a broken infrastructure and a massive debt. A debt that was really created by the U.S. in part. If you can Google Section 936, it was actually a tax credit incentive that was given to U.S. corporations in order for them to, build their companies, their headquarters on the island of Puerto Rico in exchange for federal tax breaks. Now, this went on for over 80 years until the Clinton administration ended it, repealed this whole tax credit thing in 1996. So what happened is that these corporations were getting billions of tax-free dollars on the backs of Puerto Ricans. And, when Clinton repealed this in 96, of course, they all left the island. This contributed to mass unemployment, and in turn, it created this whole economic recession that they have been in ever since 1996. So, I find it very hypocritical that he would say that, the reason why we're in such a bad way is because of this broken infrastructure.
Right.
Right. That's one aspect of it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I think it also speaks to the arrogance of the type of individual we're dealing with as well. As he plays golf every week, and basically has turned New York City into Washington D.C. Part 2, because he's very
he's
arrogant.
shutting down our whole state right now. I think he's here tonight, right?
Right, and we're footing the bill for that, by the way. But continue, my sister.
Exactly.
Continue. Yeah.
And I also posted that the United States has a way of coming into territories or the Commonwealth, as they like to say, and they use it when it best benefits them. El Yunque, which is our tropical rainforest there, is actually a part of the U.S. National Park System.
Wow.
Which I find laughable, and people will say, well, what does that have to do with anything? The fact is that many of our national resources, which would give us the type of economic viability that we need to withstand on our own, are all in this rainforest. We have many of industrial resources such as rubber, oil, gum, etc., medicinal resources such as plants that could create drugs that cure diseases such as leukemia. But yet this is part of the U.S. National Park System. And I don't say that lightly because, as I was saying before with Section 936, growing up and going to Puerto Rico, I remember being a kid going there in the 80s and seeing tons of pharmaceutical corporations, their headquarters there. And I always thought to myself, why are these pharmaceutical companies in Puerto Rico? Like I'm talking about Merck, Johnson & Johnson, major players in the pharmaceutical game. And it's because of the natural resources in the rainforest that they have been profiting on tax-free for 80 years. So, I mean, it's a hypocrisy. It's total hypocrisy.
Right. I got you. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that. I thought it was very important to share that, and I appreciate you coming on to share that, sister. I don't know if you...
No problem.
Able to listen to the rest of the broadcast, but I appreciate that, and thank you so much
I also want. Maybe you could do this on another show about the whole issue about Puerto Rico wanting to get its statehood or not.
Yeah.
You know, especially in this situation right now. You know, I think that's something that would be interesting to tackle.
I will do that because actually, when I thought about it, and I thought about it late, I actually want to do a whole segment on how the United States got involved with Puerto Rico and brought them into the fold and things like that. So we're going to go into that. Because a lot of people don't know. So on another show, I will definitely do that. But I appreciate you, sister. And like I said,
I appreciate you shedding a light on this.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, can I just add one more thing? I'm sorry, just one more thing.
Uh-huh.
You know, when people say, what can they do now besides, you know, donate, goods, much needed goods, or donate their time, even if they don't have the money to help package and send this stuff out. Another thing that you can easily do right at your home on your computer is go to change.org. There's a petition on there that's petitioning the Department of Homeland Security because right now they have something called the Jones Act. And what that is an act that prevents foreign ships from carrying cargo from the U.S. mainland to, foreign ships to bringing in cargo to Puerto Rico, like to a territory. It has to come in through the U.S. mainland. So what's happening is that there might be supplies in the Dominican Republic that can be easily shipped over to Puerto Rico, but instead of doing that, they would have them go to Florida from the Dominican Republic and then go back to Puerto Rico because it has to come in through a U.S. ship, which I find absolutely ridiculous because it's wasting not only time but money and these resources. And what it's costing human lives. The people are waiting for water and fuel and different things like this.
Right.
So that is something that you can go on change.org and actually sign the petition to prevent the Jones Act. Actually, to cause the Jones Act to be waived to help Puerto Rico rebuild its infrastructure.
Bet. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
You heard it. You heard that. Change.org. And get with that Jones Act, y'all. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very, very valuable information. I'm going to mute you momentarily, okay, so we can go on to something else. But I appreciate it. Hang in there with me if you can, Francine. I appreciate
no problem.
It. All right. So, Sinead, I bet that was an earful right there. My goodness. All types of stuff going on with that. Anyway, moving on, I just want to go ahead and go into this briefly. Of course, we know Donald Trump came out and made his comment at this rally in Alabama. This guy is having these pop-up rallies all over the country, as if he was still campaigning. Many of us are starting to call these Klan rallies, which I think they are. The tone of these rallies are just extremely volatile and incendiary. So he decided to call, as we all know at this point, NFL players who are kneeling during the national anthem, sons of bitches. And I was really chomping at the bit and dying to see how he would react. Well, not how he would react, how your black athletes would react to this come Sunday. And to my shock, many came out and kneeled in defiance of what Donald Trump had his statements at that rally. I got some mixed feelings on this. One, why did it take this for all these quote-unquote strong black alpha males to finally stand up, or in this case kneel down and stand for something? And now what? Okay, we got people kneeling, and I'm not going to even go into the responses that they got, because you had people in stadiums calling them all niggers and throwing stuff and bottles and stuff at these men and things like that. So now we see the true complexion, the true tone of what's going on in this country for real. So my thing is this. Okay, we've kneeled, but we still are waiting on justice. So, Sine, I want your thoughts on this, and let me know what you think. I mean, I didn't think we were going to have that many people kneeling at all. I thought they were going to be cowards and not kneel. But again, I have mixed feelings. I think Shannon Sharp said he wasn't impressed. You know, I understand where he was coming from. But what do you think about this, Sine?
I, like you, did not think it was going to be that many people that kneeled. However, I have mixed feelings about it. I think that some people knelt because it was advantageous for them at that point. I mean, the black people who, namely like Ray Lewis, who was getting on Kaepernick in the beginning, all of a sudden you're down on both of your knees. I feel like that was just ridiculous. It was laughable. I didn't feel any type of way about it as far as like seeing him as being one with his people or anything like that. As far as the owners and the other players, the locking of arms, I just took that as, okay, we hear you. It doesn't necessarily mean that they agree. And I feel like that was done because at the end of the day, you can be my homeboy all day long, Ja, but if you are doing something to fuck with my money, I'm going to have to take 3 steps away from you. And so I think that's what a lot of owners did because Trump was doing things to alienate them from getting their money. I don't necessarily believe that everybody that was fronting like they were united and were of the same mindset that Kaepernick is or that I am or that you are was up there for that purpose. So that's why I say that my feelings are mixed. However, just with anything else, it's just going to be a flash in the pan because I need to see other things happening. And, of course, I'm always aggravated and disheartened when I say something like what I just said or I post something like what I just said. And before anyone not of color can refute it or attack it, someone who looks just like me runs interference and says, well, hey, you know, and they go ahead and advocate every time. And I think that's what aggravates me more so than a racist or sometimes more so than Trump, which is almost damn near impossible. So I have mixed feelings about what happened. I just want to see who's going to follow up next. Like, you need to get uncomfortable because to me, kneeling, that's not uncomfortable. When Colin did it by himself, that's uncomfortable. Legions of people doing it, that's not uncomfortable because everybody's doing it. You don't stand out. Like, what else are you going to do? So that's what I'm waiting on. I want to see the results of that. Like, kneeling is still not going to stop cops from doing what they're doing or crooked politicians doing what they're doing or corporations doing what they're doing. Like, what are we going to do about it? Are we putting money and action behind it, or are we just going to kneel and let it fizzle out? So that's where I'm at with that.
Right. No, I agree with you. And you know, I'm almost at the point now because now you had Ray Lewis who was adamant against this movement. You understand? He criticized the hell out of Colin Kaepernick. Okay? Him and others. You know, Jerry Rice, and, you know, frickin' Mike Vick, you know, all these other people who came after, they were livid, you know, with Colin Kaepernick, you know, with the attitude like, ooh, you're going to get Massa mad at us, you know, Massa going to be mad, you know, that type of attitude. And here he is on both knees, on you know. And I thought he was full of shit. You know, like I think Tariq Nasheed has stated like he wasn't down there with solidarity. He was down there looking for his buttered biscuits that he dropped. You know, so I really wasn't, you know, I wasn't feeling it. Shannon Sharp spit some venom the other day, you know, and basically he said he wasn't impressed, and I understand where he's coming from. You know, where were all these people? I mean, it was good to see, but at the same time, where were y'all at last season this time?
That's
you know,
right.
And you know, and it's always I gotta put this out there. It's always in places like New England, they would get shouting nigger and terrorists and all this kind of crazy shit.
Actually,
and,
had a chant that rhymed.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, they were chanting at these people, and so this is what you got. These are your coworkers that go to these football games. These are your coworkers, your so-called liberal, conservative white friends that you claim are cool with. You go to their barbecues and shit. These are them. You understand? Who are out there with this bullshit. So I find it very interesting. I think I posted something earlier. If nothing else, Trump has people showing their true colors out here. I hope people got their third eye open. And at this point, Sinead, I'm going to tell you something. I think we've been on our knees long enough. We've been on our knees begging. I know Colin wasn't begging in his stance. He's being defiant. But I think it's time for black people to get off their knees in general.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that from the angle of if all we're doing to this point still hasn't changed anything, then it's time to take this into another direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll leave that there. But so.
Well, I agree with you on that because I just saw a clip. I've seen it several times now the other day where a preacher, a Texas preacher, said that the Bible sanctions that Trump can start a war, that the Bible sanctions assassinations if Trump sees fit. So when you have a preacher coming out and saying something like that, what else do you need to hear? What else do you need to hear to see that this is really, truly how they've been feeling? This is not something new. It's just that they are more emboldened.
They are more emboldened. They are more emboldened. Yeah, absolutely. They are more emboldened. And, look, I think it was just recently I saw something that a 12-year-old kid was punched in the mouth and called a nigger by a grown man, had his 2 front teeth knocked out. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was in Florida or not, So, these people are attacking our children, and we're not responding. At some point, there needs to be a response and a strong one. Again, I'll leave that there. Y'all do what y'all want. Won't be none of my family, that's for sure. Everybody else, hey, whatever. If you do what you feel is real, but or don't. It's totally up to you. But I can't see it. But it is what it is. So, just real quick, there's something that has come out. Apparently, Fox is alluding, Fox News, or should I say Fox Noose, as in noose that you put around your neck. Fox News has come out and stated that it's quite possible one of the footage of a missile being fired by North Korea was actually a footage from 7 years ago. So here we go with this shenanigans. So so now, and can I tell you something? Honestly, I'm not surprised, because the bait and switch is definitely in full effect right now. And I think we stated on this show before the whole wag the dog mentality, apparently Fox if Fox is coming out and saying, and you're like, wow, really, but apparently there's a footage of one of the most recent North Korea missile firings is actually an old footage from 7 years ago. So, go figure. That situation is still on the radar, and Donald Trump rather fight with the NFL than deal with any of this other stuff, especially with helping the people in Puerto Rico. So, I think we touched on what we wanted to touch on. We're gonna go ahead and take a 50-second break and come back at the top of the hour with the main topic, which is forced sterilization of women of color and HIV and AIDS in the black community. We'll be right back, all.
Real Talk Radio. Real Talk on Talk.
100% real. 100% real. 100% real. We had over 1,000 listeners.
All right. Real Talk all the time. We're back. We're back. The call in tonight and every Tuesday, 657-330-612. That's 657-330-612. Press 1 to talk to us. I'm going to give it to Sine. Chat lines are open. Sine, what do you got for us tonight?
Okay. The twofold topic of the show tonight originated for me from two different realms. One from several articles I read a few months ago, and the other is more personal. I'll summarize the articles that I read to lead to our first topic. A Tennessee judge named Sam Benningfield was offering reduced jail time in exchange for sterilization operations in hopes of helping repeat offenders, as what he said, make something of themselves. The order was issued offering inmates in White County, Tennessee, only 30 days credit, shaved off of their jail time if they volunteer for vasectomies or for women the contraceptive implants in their arms. At the time that I read the article, there were 32 women that had already received the implants, and there were 38 men signed up for vasectomies just to get 30 days, no more, shaved off of their time. When pressed about why he came up with that solution, the judge said he wanted to break the cycle of drug offenders coming through his courtroom who couldn't find jobs or support their children. His direct quote was, "I hope to encourage them to take personal responsibility and give them a choice when they do get out to not be burdened with children. This gives them a chance to get on their feet and make something of themselves." When I first read these articles, one word popped in my head after reading them, and that was the word eugenics. For those who aren't familiar with that term, it can better be defined as forced and coerced sterilization, mostly of women, but sometimes men. However, it has always been prevalent, mostly in women of color and those deemed mentally inferior, for lack of a better word. It's a shunned subject of discussion among the people that have been through it, the victims, and among medical professionals who were big proponents of it. The first time I learned of it was after I watched a movie called Miss Evers' Boys, and that movie was a true story about how the government did the Tuskegee syphilis experiment in 1932. And in short, that was just a group of black test subjects. What I say is lab rats. That's what they used us as. They were allowed to die despite a cure being available for syphilis, just to see the effects of the disease on the body. So after seeing that film as a young adult, I went to the library to try to learn more about that because I couldn't believe that that was true. And in learning about that, that's how I happened upon stories of black, Puerto Rican, American Indian, and Mexican women being sterilized without their knowledge. It seems to me this country has a fascination with being in control and having their hand in all aspects of their, what I would say they think is lesser citizens' lives. So it was important for me to bring this subject to light because, first, I'm a woman, and I'm a woman of color at that, and I don't think that a lot of people are really knowledgeable about this. and that it went on for so long. People should not be fooled into thinking that these things only happen to black people, because it does spread like a factory tree until it eventually touches even the ones that they deem are their own disposables. Some of the legal ramifications from it happened years and years after they had been doing it. I actually did not know that it had become a legal scientific movement where they had a sterilization program that was implemented in the country. And it goes all the way back to the 1920s. And states were authorized to force sterilization on anybody that they deemed, and the quote is, undesirable citizens. Undesirable citizens were people with disabilities, prisoners, racial minorities, and the precedent was set in 1927. And a Supreme Court justice actually said that they would uphold that law because 3 generations of imbeciles were enough. And that was from a case called Buck versus Bell, where a white woman named Carrie Buck, she did not want to be sterilized. She already had, I think, 2 children out of wedlock, and Virginia wanted to sterilize her because they deemed her genetically inferior. That was because she was poor, she was illegitimate, and her mother had been institutionalized for being promiscuous. And after researching even more, knowing that this show was coming up, eugenics was found to be the inspiration for Adolf Hitler, which I did not know. It was an inspiration for him to start his extermination program used by the Nazis, and actually these programs were funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation. So there were scientists in California that was actually producing literature and promoting this type of sterilization and sending it overseas to German scientists and medical professionals. And the list goes on from there. From there, then we have, like, I don't know if people have heard of the Mississippi appendectomies, where it's just another word for unnecessary hysterectomies that they were performing on black people here in the South at teaching hospitals, on women of color as practice for medical students. The black people did not know that they were getting hysterectomies. They thought that they were getting needed appendectomies. This went on from the 1920s to the 1970s. There were thousands of black women sterilized without their knowledge, without their consent. And then most states in the United States, I think it was 32 states in all, had implemented these laws. And after World War II, a lot of them stopped except for Georgia, which is where I live, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia, which their rates actually increased because it was growing black political power, mandatory integration, and the civil rights movement. So I have more information, but just if you want to share, like, what do you think about that? Are you shocked by some of that I shared with you? What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
You know, honestly, I'm not shocked, and I'm gonna explain why here. One, how you actually tied in the whole Carnegie and Rockefeller family who were backing this, and they were helping to fund this in Nazi Germany. Because I was going to bring in that, Adolf Hitler, of course, practiced eugenics extensively during his reign of terror in Germany. And what I want to say is just the caveat on that part particularly is that many people don't understand that it was many – this is going to, probably make a lot of people drop their cookies, but many American Jewish families and American Jewish companies had factories that remained open and operational during World War II in Germany. And these factories were helping to fund and fuel the Nazi war machine. So much so that when the war was over, these same families sued the United States because of the damage that the bombs caused their factories. Go ahead and research that. So it doesn't surprise me at all because, like I said, I'm glad how you tied that in there. But the time frame is about right. You said about 1926, somewhere around that time. And it makes sense, and this is why. You figure around that time, of course, blacks had been free for a couple of years from, quote-unquote, chattel slavery. And, of course, before then, we were being bred like animals. And many of our ancestors, our forebears, had big families. They married and had 14 kids and stuff like that. It was just one of those things that was happening. And so one of the things that they wanted to do, like you said, they practiced this with undesirables. And, of course, blacks are high on the list of undesirable even to this day. So they don't want you reproducing but so much. And so this came right along that time frame. Okay, we no longer need free labor. But we can't have 100 of you being born. I'm exaggerating, but we can't have 100 of you in one household anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to throw a monkey wrench in the works here. So that time frame is perfect because you figure they were starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, they're just multiplying. There's too many of them. You understand? That's right. And they still feel this way today. This is not something, and in fact, if you go back to just a couple of months ago in Charlottesville, okay, one of the main chants was, you will not replace us. You understand? One of the biggest fears in the past and in the present is genetic annihilation. In fact, for those that don't know, please study her and get her books. Dr. Frances Quest Welsling talks about genetic annihilation, and this is part of the reason why we are in the war that we're in right now. This is part of the reason why we're being targeted the way we are. This is part of a war to control numbers, because at this rate, of course, the dominant society's birth rates right now are negative, and if this continues on, there will be no more. Point blank. They'll be wiped from the face of the earth through genetics alone. So things like eugenics is very important, whether it's done outright or clandestine. This is super important for the dominant society, whether they want to admit it to you or not. Genetic annihilation is on the table for the dominant society. So that's my take on that. And, yeah, I can believe it wholeheartedly.
I found that as time went on, whatever region someone happened to be living in, they kind of crafted the way that they pursued the people that they wanted to sterilize by what region they were in. Like I found that California really, really drove hard at Asians and Mexicans.
Yes.
And here in the South where I am, they drove hard, of course, amongst women of color. And they were even sterilizing girls under 18 as young as 9 years old. Even in Alabama, I found a case where two poor black sisters were sterilized. One was 12 and one was 14 at the time. Their mother was illiterate, which goes into my next part of this. The mother was illiterate, so she just signed an X on a piece of paper. She thought she was giving them permission to give her girls birth control shots, but they actually did sterilize them. And later on in 1974, the Southern Poverty Law Center filed a lawsuit, and once they did that and started doing research, they found out that at least 100,000 to 150,000 poor people had been sterilized every year under a federally funded program. There was in the Midwest forced sterilization of Native Americans, and that persisted on into the 1980s, with examples of women getting their tubes tied, thinking that they were getting appendectomies. And through their research, they found that almost 50% of Native American women were sterilized just between 1970 and 1976. Now, as far as Trump and his reaction to Puerto Rico, it ties right in with this because out of all of the minority groups that I named, Puerto Rican women had the highest sterilization rate in the world. Wow. In the world. Puerto Rico is an island in the world. That is because they had the mindset, the powers that be had the mindset that they would overpopulate the island, and then that would cause stress on the U.S. economy. And so what they would do, once I started researching, I actually called one of my aunts, and she told me that she remembers that when she was younger, what they would do is they would pay health department workers to go and knock on doors, door to door, and implore women to get sterilized, that they would pay for it, that they would, the employers would look favorably on them if they were sterilized, because then they knew they wouldn't have to call out of work because they didn't have a bunch of children at home that may get sick or an accident happen or something like that. And I was blown away. She also said that these women were under the impression that if they did get this, it was something that was reversible. So when they were using the your tubes, they think, oh, okay, well, they can untie them when they get ready and they can have children. And so they used one race against another. You dangled a paycheck in front of these poor people and said, hey, come work for the health department. All you have to do is come and knock on doors and implore these women. So, of course, if I have someone that looks like me telling me how great something is, I'm going to be more trusting of them. I'm going to believe them, and I'm probably going to follow through. If you're saying, oh, I'll probably get a job quicker, you will pay for it, it's not coming out of my pocket, those type of things. I found a story in California where some women in California sued a doctor that worked at the county hospital because he had been sterilizing women and having them sign their forms under duress, meaning like right before they're about to give birth or right after they're about to give birth.
Oh, yes.
And also the language barrier was another issue. All of these papers were in English. A lot of these women could not speak English. They had no idea what they were signing. And back then, if you were married, you had to have a man's consent. And I know that to be true because my mother said that she actually argued with my father when my brother was born in 1976 because she wanted her tubes tied. And my dad was like, well, I might want more children. And she said, like, they had some words in the hospital. He did sign them, but I just was shocked that she had to, like, quote, unquote, really get his permission. Like, so they were lying to these women and saying, oh, yeah, your husband signed. He's consented to this. And that was a lie. Well, after the trial and everything, the judge did acknowledge that there was a problem with the language barrier, but he ruled in favor of the hospital and the doctor, saying that there was no deliberate intent by the doctors to hurt the women, even though one of the nurses that actually worked up under one of the doctors said that she heard him say several times that poor minority women in L.A. County were just having too many babies, and it was a strain on society, and it was good for them to be sterilized.
Right.
Some of these women, none of them were on welfare. They were not welfare beneficiaries, but some of them were persuaded to go ahead and get their tubes tied because if not, they might have their access to welfare if they needed it in the future to be cut off. So all of these powers and places and people in place are very crafty, and it has not stopped. So when people act like this is new, that's what bothers me, and I think that's why I wanted to bring this story up, because I want my children, and I hope some children are listening, or that people will relay some of this information to their young children, whether they be young adults or younger, because you don't need to think that this just happened or that this type of stuff just happened because Trump got into office. This has been going on. I think that my child is to an advantage because she gets to see it outright. Where me growing up, I didn't get to see really how they felt. People weren't as bold as they have been lately, I would say, in this past year. They haven't been as bold as they are now when I was her age at 13, 14 years old. So I think we do ourselves a disservice, and I think we do others around us a disservice when we try to act like this is new, or when we try to say that, oh, it's only the black people, or it's only no. It's everybody, because they did it to poor white people. They did it to American Indian people, Mexican people, Asian people, black women, Puerto Rican women. There is no limit to what they will do. So this goes back into them thinking that they're superior. This goes back into them thinking that we don't have the same type of love for our people and for our children, that we don't have the same type of rights, that we can choose to have 5, 6, 7 children if that's what we want to do. It's not their right to take, you're welcome, to take control over our bodies unknowingly. And so those type of things need to be talked about. I think we need to talk about them more. I think people we say it all the time on the show, people need to do their own research. Don't just wait for someone to feed you. You really need to look into it, because even though I wanted to do the show on this topic, even researching even more, I learned so much more than I knew before. So it would behoove people, if you have anything that you just want to know about, not just ask, but to look for yourself and look in several different places, not at one source. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, I wanted to add too that my aunt said that it was known in Puerto Rico that it was called La Operación, the operation. So everybody knew, like it was just a given, like that's what you're going to get. And they were to bring it really home. I looked it up, and in Puerto Rico, during the 1960s, women of childbearing ages were more than 10 times likely to be sterilized than women in the States. 10 times.
Wow. That is something. I don't know. Wow, that's something. Very, very interesting. Our phone lines are lighting up here. Do you want to take a couple of callers and
Of course.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and go with, let's see here. Got quite a few people have been waiting. Let's go ahead and go with, I'll start with you. 0124, you're live. What's your name? Where you calling from, please?
Hey, it's Evelyn from Bridgeport, Connecticut. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? Hi. Of course, you know we're talking about forced sterilization of women of color. What do you have? Any thoughts on this?
Well, sounds to me like population control.
Exactly.
And I wanted to make a comment about what Tanae said earlier, that there's no rich people on Puerto Rico. That is the exact reason why this sociopath in chief has not made it there yet.
Right.
So, but as far as the sterilization, to me it just seems like population control. And
that's exactly what it is.
Whitewashing population control.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, as I stated, and I appreciate your comment. As I stated, and if you do the due diligence, you'll realize that one of the biggest fears, of course, coming out of the alt-right camp, is genetic annihilation. The numbers are not looking good, and this is why they're coming out in droves now, given that green light by the tangerine, and this is why they're acting a fool. And you're going to see more and more behavior like this because of this. And their message is going to go from, we saw it already. We're going from talking to action. So this is what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next caller. Let's get another caller here. Let me see who we had here waiting long. 9486. What's your name? Where are you calling from, please? 9846.
Hi,
your last
can you
four?
all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Hi.
can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hi,
Yes.
This is Leah. How you all doing?
Hey.
Hey, Leah.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to make sure you could hear me. Oh my
Yes.
God, this topic is so interesting.
Yeah. What do you got for us?
Man, I learned so much. I don't know a lot about the topic. I have heard some things growing up in a household where my mother was she was a public servant, and in social work. There was so many different things that she would say to me that I thought, oh my God, she's so paranoid, about this. And it was just little things like when I was growing up and, I would cramp or something during it, my girl time or whatever. And she wouldn't take me to the doctor, and I'd just be like, what is wrong with her? And she, when with certain medications, she wouldn't let me have medicines. She'd say, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna work through this, and I need you to do some things. If we got to put a heating pad on your stomach or whatever the case might be. There were just certain things she wouldn't allow me to eat growing up, and I was just like, what's going on with her? She would say like ramen noodles, you notice how inexpensive they are. We don't need to eat that stuff, because it got MSG in it, and it causes, tumors on the brain and all that and whatnot. And, there's a lot of things that there were people, things that, okay, like, for instance, if you were, below the poverty line and looking at some of the grocery stores and whatnot that, that's in the particular neighborhoods, we all are similar, or we're familiar with these types of things, and how certain products are put in grocery stores that we buy on a regular. It could be Kool-Aid or whatever, and so she would just be real careful about, no, we're going to pick our vegetables, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. I was like, what's wrong with her? But getting back to what you were talking about today, wow, that is a very interesting topic, and there was something I wanted to add to that as well. Do you all remember that, and I want to say it was prevalent in the 80s and maybe even early 90s so much, there was like this epidemic of breast cancer patients or people who were getting breast cancer, like by the thousands. And I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I had my children in the late 80s and the early 90s. And I remember when I had my daughters, my mother said, do not take that pill that they give you to dry up your breast milk. And I noticed that there was this mass amount of people that began to get breast cancer. Not that it hasn't always been around. But then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, you should breastfeed your baby. It's like they don't give you the pill anymore. They encourage you now to drop your breast milk versus I don't think that they really get into that anymore, because I think now they're in fear that they're going to get sued, the hospital and whatnot. But that's just something to add on to, again, population elimination. That could be part of it, but I don't know if y'all realize that. Or it could have been something to just launch breast cancer research. I don't know. But these are the types of things that
brought that up, because I think that I might have avoided some things just because my grandmother was a nurse. So there were a lot of things that I didn't get because of my grandmother. My grandmother, all of us in the family, from the time we were little, it was a known fact. Any family member that was in a hospital never stayed in a hospital by themselves, ever. There was always someone that spent the night. Like, there was always someone there. My grandmother was big on, you need an advocate. I don't care if you're on medication or not. You may not be thinking clearly. Someone needs to be there around the clock. And so that was a norm for me in my family. And I got to know that that was a good thing soon, because when my grandfather was diagnosed with cancer, I was 16, and we actually used to take shifts. My cousins, my aunts, my mother, whoever, there was not one time that he was there by himself. And there were 2 times, this was in 1989, there were 2 times that my grandmother, she always asked, okay, what is that you're giving him? What is that? What is that for? There were 2 times that she actually stopped them from giving him something that had already been told to them that he was allergic to. So in saying that, when I had my son, my grandmother stressed to me, when you come home from the hospital, if you're not going to breastfeed, don't take anything that they give you. You don't need a shot. You don't need to take a pill. Put some cabbage leaves in your bra. That'll dry up your breast milk. And I was thinking, oh, my God, here's my grandma with this country-ass farm tale. But it worked. Like, it was the truth. And so I think that you are right. I think that maybe they stopped that because a lot of the things we eat, that's probably why my grandmother, she'll be, God willing, she'll be 91 on October the 3rd, coming up in a week or so. And I think she has longevity. Her sister has longevity because they ate from out of the ground. They didn't grow up eating McDonald's and all of this stuff with antibiotics and shit like that in it. And I think that has a lot to do with it, Leah, especially as far as the breast cancer, because she ended up being diagnosed with breast cancer, and my aunt is actually going through her 3rd bout with breast cancer. So I do think a lot of those things tie in. They may not want to say it, but I think they do.
Right. Oh, wow. We got our boy Rob has joined us. Let me give my man a shout out. Rob, you there?
Yeah. What's going on, guys?
All right, Rob. Rob has joined us tonight. Of course, you know, we're chopping it up about forced sterilization of women of color. So, we got the topic popping. The phone lines are open.
No doubt.
You got anything for us on this? And
I was listening in, and I tell you, it was just amazing because I believe that all of it is tied in. One of the biggest things that you guys are talking about, 2 points I want to admit to, education. For one, there's a lot of people that don't want to find the research or learn for themselves about different things that can harm them. And then number 2, as far as from a demographic standpoint, now when you talk about foods, like now when you look at how kids are developing nowadays, and then like why our parents or great-grandparents and things of that particular nature, like Sinead was talking about earlier, on why they told you not to, do these different things, take these shots or take these type of medications. And then I'll take it even further. You get some of these folks that's living down in like the Amazon jungle or the Aborigines out in Australia. I mean, the bottom line is you got people that's living over 100 plus years and they living off the land. They never got shots or never got these different types of, when they went and hunted, you didn't have to worry about no injections that's put into the meat and things of that particular nature. You know what I'm saying? And all of these things that we put into our body, or we're taught to put into our body. Let's go back to like the slave days, all right? When slaves had nothing but scraps left over from, like different parts of the animal or just whatever was passed down. I mean, a lot of these things are health concerns that cause, problems later on. And now to get back to the, the main topic as far as like the sterilization of black females, a lot of people considered that back in the days in the ghetto, if you will, they call ghettos. The only thing that people were doing back then was, having a whole bunch of unprotected sex and having a whole bunch of babies that would cause a generation of people to stay on welfare. And, once again, society deemed it to be that it was this one demographic. And Sinead, you already hit it, and said that it's just not us, but it's a combination of so many different people. But, the sad reality is if you don't educate yourself and if you allow yourself to be ruled by what others say about what's best for you, you're a lost cause.
That's right.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Rob, brother man, and I'm glad you joined us this evening. I got 2 more people I want to bring in here, and I'll let you have it back, Sydney, and then we'll get into HIV and AIDS in the black community. I'm going to bring Francine, are you with us again? You live?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, sister. Any comments here on the forced sterilization of women of color?
I just want to add that, Black and brown people have been used as lab rats, for lack of a better term, for quite some time. If you think about Henrietta Lacks, the research that they were doing on her stem cells, and I just think that if you don't address these things, history is going to replay itself. And in some regards, if I must play the conspiracy theorist, I would say that it's happening already with this organ harvesting things that are going on. So I mean, it's not anything to be shocked about. Like you said, it's about population control, and it's just about stopping the Black and brown family. As you said, that's their biggest fear, for us to continue multiplying.
Right. Well, I tell you this, being that you mentioned that the whole organ harvesting thing, this is for everybody, and you can research this yourself. Melanin is going for $350 a gram on the black market.
Yes, I heard about that.
I'll repeat that. Melanin is going for $350 per gram on the black market. So you do it. You do that what you will. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm getting tired of putting out information and people are just looking with this blank stare in their eyes. So you do
when
what
all
you
they
want.
have to do is a Google search.
Right. So it is what it is. But thanks for that. And something I want to throw in here real quick is that now that you guys are talking about this and talking about your grandparents, my mother used to say stuff that when she was a young girl, and I'm talking about, from little girl to her teenage years, she said her mother was always in that doctor's office with her, constantly, at all times. And if it looked funny, she said, and I know my grandmother, she would look at the doctor and be looking over his shoulder like, what the fuck are you doing? And what the fuck is this? So it's just real talk. You understand? So I remember now, like, wow, you just jarred something in my memory, man. Like, my mother used to say, like, they wasn't taking everything that they gave them. They weren't playing that shit.
Right.
And something else real quick I want to say is that, unfortunately, it'll be going back, to the early 1900s, mid-1900s, up into the 70s, a lot of young black girls who were in the foster care system were sterilized.
Yes.
And they were sterilized on purpose and also used by certain families as sex slaves. So if you were sterilized and you couldn't get pregnant, if you were raped, you couldn't prove it. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're not getting pregnant. So these are things that were also happening to our women. You understand?
Absolutely.
So there's a whole bunch of horrors that goes along with this whole thing of sterilizing these women. You understand? So
the forced sterilization in Puerto Rico was actually ran by Planned Parenthood, and it was with U.S. government funding. And as you said, they targeted the mentally disabled and orphans. That's exactly who they targeted. And the thing about it is that this went on in Puerto Rico from, I'd say, 1920s, 1940s, up until 1970s. And the only reason that it stopped there is because the feminists here on the U.S. mainland had protested against it. So that's the only reason that it had actually ended there.
Wow. Look at that. All right. One more caller here on this topic, and we're going to go ahead and move on into the HIV and AIDS. 1539. Thank you so much for waiting patiently. You're live.
Hey, it's D. Craig in Mansfield, Texas.
All right, brother.
And
welcome.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of that time, but I mean, this is the topic here is the reason. That's the main reason why I used to argue with friends when they talk about, we need to sterilize people. You can't be forcing sterilization. That's just ridiculous. I mean, if people want to go at birth control, they can do it, but you don't force sterilization. But you guys talked enough about it. I'll let you keep rolling. I'll keep listening.
Okay. All right. Well, Sinead, my sister, the mic is back to you. Any more comments, closing comments on this? Or how you want to do it, the show is yours, my dear.
Okay. I just want to add to what you said because it jogged my memory about something else, and then I'll move on to the HIV and AIDS. The fact that you said that your grandmother, was it your grandmother or your great-grandmother was like over their shoulder?
My grandmother was over. Yeah, my grandmother was over my mom when she used to go to the doctor, from a young girl into her late teens. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was raised like that. I know some other women was raised like that. I have a friend, a close friend, who always has an issue when she takes her child to the dentist. Now, I think we've all heard of stories where a 3 or 4-year-old goes to the dentist and the next thing you know that they're dead. They have these new, for those of you who have young children, you'll know, they have some new pediatric dentist office where they prefer that the parent not come to the back with the child.
Yeah.
And some of them really try to enforce that. I know that the pediatric dentist that my children went to, they would suggest it, but some people sat out there and watched TV or read magazines. I always went back, but I say that stuck in my mind because I have a friend who used to have to go tooth and nail every time because it was damn near like they were not going to service her child because she wanted to go to the back. I mean, he wasn't one of these children that was crying and kicking and screaming. That's not why, but she wanted to see what are you doing? What are you administering to my child? And so I just wanted to follow up with that. I do understand, and I think that we should not, just because they're a medical professional, some things they don't get to rule you. Like, they know about medicine, but they can't tell you how to feel about your children. So people do need to be correct, because I think a lot of young parents get bullied like that.
And you know what? One quick thing. Once you relinquish control, it's gone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay? It's gone after that. You won't get it back.
Right.
You'll be fighting to get it back. So, you do what you want. Like I said, I'm y'all black people wear me out lately. I don't know. So, you know, I really can't. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we can move on to the next topic, which is HIV and AIDS in the black community.
Yep.
I picked this topic because it is deeply, deeply personal to me.
Okay.
I picked this topic because I had a 25-year-old niece that passed away this year, May 13th, the day before Mother's Day. We called her Coco. Her name was Sakura. She is my brother's daughter, my oldest brother's daughter. He's 11 years older than me. I bring that up to say she was born HIV positive.
Oh, boy.
And so I got to watch from beginning to end what that did to her emotionally, physically, psychologically, and what it did to us as a family to pull together and sometimes tear us apart depending on what aspect we were addressing about it. I say that because my brother, let me go back. My niece was born in November of 1991, the same month and the same year that Magic Johnson came out and said that he had found out that he was HIV positive. My brother infected my niece's mother and did not tell her. My brother has been lifelong, as long as I've been alive, drug user. And he was also a very nice-looking guy, so he was quite the womanizer. And I say that to say we really don't know how he was infected. I don't know if it was because he was promiscuous. I don't know if it was because he was on drugs. I do know that he knew, and he did not say anything. I call her still my sister-in-law. They are not together, of course, but I still call her that. So he infected her. When my niece was born, she was born early, and she was kind of underweight. So, but of course, we did not think anything like HIV was still like new. Like we just, at that time, we were still thinking only gay people get it and dope heads get it. Like, not normal people don't get it, and we couldn't even fathom a baby getting it. But through time and through her being sickly, they finally deduced that she was HIV positive, tested her mother, and found out that she was HIV positive as well. If he had have said something, at that time they had just started experimenting with the drugs that would help the mother to give birth to a baby that was not HIV positive. We are not 100% sure that would have worked, but she did not even have that chance. And so I want to talk about HIV and AIDS in the black community because I still feel like there is a stigma attached. I think that a lot of people of color, because I've seen it personally, I think that a lot of people of color in front of people act like they're all right with it. They're all right being around people who are HIV positive. But on the inside, they are really not like that. They just don't want to be looked at like, oh, my God, like you're still back in the caveman days and you're thinking like that. But a lot of people do think like that. And so what happens is you have people that are living with HIV that are already carrying that weight. And now you have to add on to that a child carrying that weight along with the weight of shame. So my niece had to learn very early how to navigate through school and social situations. There was a lot of times, especially when she was very young, she didn't understand. She just knew she was sick and she had to take medicine. She didn't know what it was about or anything like that. But she would always get frustrated when we would say certain things you can't do or you can't spend the night over this person's house because then we're going to have to explain to their parents how to administer or give her this medicine at this time and explain what that is, and it would just blow up. We didn't want her to be ashamed. We loved her. We never walked around like she was a pariah or anything. But you try to shield a child from people, and sometimes kids are brutal, but sometimes adults can be brutal. I mean, I've seen it where I've literally almost gotten into physical fights. Her mother has too, just trying to protect her. So I think that's another thing that we do each other a disservice by not talking about it, and I think that it's twofold. I think that we have a lot of young people out here who, because they didn't grow up during like the 80s, where they would show on TV, they would show how people was one brink away from death. You don't see that on TV anymore. So I don't know if it's because they see people like Magic Johnson still living with HIV. They feel like, oh, I could just go get a shot, get some pills. I mean, if I get it, it's no big deal. Because when I did look up statistics, the highest rate of people getting HIV is between 24 and 14. That's my children's ages. That's some of our children's ages, and so I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's because everybody is promiscuous. I would hope that everybody gets away from the thinking that you have to be, because it only takes one. You don't have to be with several to get any STD. And I didn't know this. But through, having family members with it, that when you have another STD, it makes you even more susceptible to get HIV or to pass it on if you already have it. There are 45% of people right now living with HIV that don't know they have it. When I read that, that's scary to me. That there are 45% of people who have it don't know that they have it. And so we need to get out of, like, shaming each other or putting blame on each other. You know what I'm saying? And we can't all just blame it on gay people or men on the down low. It takes so much more than that. It's so much deeper than that. And I think that my brother was not open, number one. I think he was embarrassed and ashamed. I think that in the beginning he was in great denial. And it's crazy that he's still here. My brother is still here. He has always lived crazy. Once he got his diagnosis, it did not slow him down. And it's so unfair that my niece went through school, went to college and everything, and got her degree and did not get to realize her dream of becoming a social worker to help kids like her. So I say that to say we need to talk about it, whether it's uncomfortable or not. So.
Yeah. Sinead, let me ask you this.
Can I add something to that? I'm sorry.
Give me 1 second. Sinead, I want to ask you this. And this is a real question. To your knowledge, after your brother found out he had it, you said it didn't slow him down, did he at least practice safe sex after that, to your knowledge?
He did not. I know that for a fact. He did. He did not.
So
he continued to do drugs. He continued to have many women.
So he knowingly
and so
was having sex?
He would not bring women around us because my mother would tell him. My father, my mother, like, we would just say it outright.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to add something to that specifically, actually. A fellow survivor that I deal with was raped by someone who was HIV positive, and they infected her, and she is doing great, but she found out that right after the rape, about a month after the rape, that she was indeed HIV positive as well.
Wow.
So there are other situations. What I can tell you is, helping her and counseling her, that there is so much that's come so far. She's taking. She told me like a month ago, that her infectious disease doctor told her that the actual virus, the actual disease, will be the least thing on your mind. She said,
that's right.
The doctor told them, get your mind right, because you're going to need to get counseling for the stress and the post-traumatic stress and the rape and all of that. And that's what she said. She's like, I'm as healthy as can be. I take my medicine every day, but I still have to go to therapy because of the rape. So it's stuff like that.
Right.
It's not everybody is promiscuous, but it is a lot of people,
Right. Wow. Thank you for that comment. Hey, Sinead, I got a caller here. You want to take a caller?
Yes.
Okay, let's bring this caller ahead. Let's bring a caller ahead. 9561. 9561 is your last four. You're live on Real Talk All the Time. What's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
Hi, everybody. This is Shell.
Hey, Shell. How you doing?
Y'all
what
look
you got
floating,
for
right?
us?
I have a couple of comments. I wanted to share a personal experience from when I was 20, and still, like Sinead said, HIV and AIDS, all that was new, and I had went to school. I was in college, and I had met a man who was 26, and he and I were dating. And I didn't know. I found out eventually, but I didn't even know that this man was doing drugs and shooting up. And I mean, like, to the point that he didn't have any good veins, so he was actually shooting up in his penis. And so when that came out, and everybody, it was like a bunch of rumors that he was HIV, and he kept denying it. But my real scare came when I decided to go and get tested, because he had claimed that he had the flu. But when I go get tested, it's nothing like sitting in a room and looking at all these symptoms around you and thinking about everything that's been happening, and you're looking at this person who's had that. But that was my first real, like, up close. And after that, thank God, I was fine. He continued to deny it, but I did learn that years later that he actually did die. He actually died from AIDS. So it was, I just, like, felt like I missed a bullet there. But my point is, it was always important to me to get tested. And now, fast forward, I have young men that are in their 20s, and I'm telling you, when I talk to my sons and I try to stress the importance of getting tested, it's almost like getting tested was a fad. You act like I'm being dramatic, like nobody does that. That's like what I hear. Nobody even does that, and I'm thinking, what do you mean nobody does it? Because it's still here. But it's just like, to the young people, I don't know if you just really feel like you're just that invincible, or if it's just, like they said, a fad. It's just not the cool thing to do. But it just seems like that's really not on their mind, getting tested, regardless of all the places we hear about it. We still have people trying to push it. But these young people, they just don't think that it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. It is super duper important. You know, I don't know how you guys. I mean, and at this point in the game, all these years, I remember when AIDS came on the scene. You guys remember when AIDS came on the scene back in the mid '80s? There were two things that were popping.
Yes.
There were two things that were popping in the '80s: crack wars and AIDS.
Yes.
I was just gonna.
All right, now check this out. Now check this out. How ironic was that? Crack and AIDS both hit at the same time, practically, right?
Right.
Well, and I think, you know, going back to the whole conspiracy thing, I mean, a lot of people thought that the whole AIDS virus was something that was created to, once again.
I'm about to go into that, yeah. Rob, not for nothing. Again, I'm going back to Dr. Frances Cress Wessling. She swears up and down, man. May she rest in peace, that AIDS was created in the laboratory. Okay? And somehow planted in Africa, and they swore up and down that you got it from having sex with a damn monkey.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? So now here's the thing. Now let's use our logic. I mean, of course, like I said, it's neither here nor there now because it's here. But if that's the case, there's been monkeys on the planet since the planet came here.
That's right.
We've been on the planet since the planet came here. So you mean to tell me all of a sudden in 1984, let's say, and I don't know the exact year, let's say it's 1984.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now AIDS comes out. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. And
Not only that, though, once it's planted, once it's put there, and then you have people on crack, there's no rational sexual behavior where drugs are involved. So you have somebody who may be infected and on dope, or not on dope, just infected, and get serviced by someone who is infected. However, you know, it's just like the perfect potion. You know, it's like you see a old wizard rubbing his hands together like it's coming all together. It just happened at the same time. You put those two dangerous things together, and that's what has caused an epidemic, and that's what has caused us and our family to lose someone. I have never lost someone that young in age in my family or in my life ever, unless it was through some type of violence. But through being sick, never. And so, you know, that's a big deal. Like, we need to stop fucking around. We need to stop, like, lollygagging. We need to stop acting like it's gross or it makes your child feel some type of way. You need to be talking to your kids at 9 and 10 about sex, because you best believe these little kids, I'm telling you what I know, little kids are talking about sex, and they ain't saying, oh, let me touch it. They're saying dick, and I mean, they're saying everything, and they already think like oral sex is like holding hands was to us. That's nothing. That's nothing for them to do.
They're practicing this shit nowadays, man, and that's the sad reality. You know, before, like Sinead, you said something that was paramount. You know, when we was coming up, you know, we talked about this on shows before, as far as, you know, like the run, catch, and kiss and hide and go seek shit. And us, you know, back then was like a little scared when it came to dry humping and shit. Because everybody was like, yo, fuck, without some type of protection, I don't want to get nobody pregnant or, you know, this, that, and the third. But, you know, what's crazy about this AIDS situation, because it affects me too, and I'm glad we're talking about this. I have an aunt and an uncle that were affected by it. My uncle had passed, and this was like late 80s, early 90s. But he got AIDS from drug use and was using dirty needles, you know, shed needles. And, I mean, my uncle was like, he was a very, very large man, you know, and then by the time that the AIDS had, you know, took him over, I mean, he wasn't himself, man. He was like as skinny as like J.J. Walker, you know, Jimmy Walker from, you know what I'm saying, like that.
Yeah.
So now, my aunt that actually was with him, you know, she's still here to this day. She lives with the virus. You know, she takes medication and things of that particular nature, but it's just the point that.
Hey, listen, I had two cousins pass away who were, you know, heterosexual straight men that died from full-blown AIDS. You know what I'm saying? So,
recently?
No, not recently. I'm talking about, you know, 80s. Right after this shit popped off, and you know we're you know, not for nothing, Rob, like we're talking about on a sidebar. this shit didn't pop up. Like, it wasn't a thing until Rock Hudson got it. For those of you that are old enough to know who Rock Hudson was,
right.
Until Rock Hudson contracted AIDS, it wasn't really a thing. Suddenly, the country was shook. After Rock Hudson contracted AIDS, the whole country got shook. All right?
Yeah.
I remember stories of people when AIDS started catching on. Of course, if you know, this is New York. Everybody has a hustle, right? And people capitalize on shit. I remember people walking into banks with signs. They didn't have no gun and said, "I'll spit on you. I have AIDS and all the goddamn money in the bank."
Yeah.
And people were giving all the money in the bank to these people, and they would walk out.
Yeah.
I remember that shit. Oh yeah, you had AIDS, I'll spit on you, and people were like, "Okay, take all the money, take it all." Okay. So of course things changed with education, but I remember these days. Like I said, it was crack and AIDS in the '80s that had the whole country upside down.
That's
you
right.
know, so it is what it is. You know, we're at the last half hour, and this half hour goes fast. So, Sine, however you want to play this. We'll take more questions because from the panel, we don't have anybody in the queue right now. So anybody that has, I don't know, however you want to do it. Anybody that has any comments or whatever about AIDS, any personal AIDS stories or whatever it is.
I'd like to add a comment.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is Francine. I just want to say that I think we're getting back to the time where we're seeing more cases because the kids nowadays, I think they have a false sense of security when they see people like Magic Johnson who are living with the disease and they look fine and healthy and they're thriving and they're successful. I think a lot of kids, they don't take it as seriously as we did when we were coming up. And it's really a bad combination, especially with the tone of society right now with these shows that live in hip-hop where these women are being so promiscuous, where the women on Instagram are butt naked on their pages. It's really a scary time to be a parent of a teenager right now.
Yeah.
And hello, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just commenting that teenagers butt naked on the internet. I just
yeah. It happens. Trust me, it happens. It's more prevalent than you want to believe.
Well, I think
I have something to add.
That plays right into a lot of things that they want to happen. Anything that they plan, it is for us to annihilate each other, whether it be dope, whether it be AIDS. And even when I looked up the information it gave the CDC gave the top 16 cities hardest hit by AIDS when it first came out. And the top city is the city I live in. It's Atlanta.
Yes.
Then there's Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Fort Lauderdale,
Jacksonville,
Jersey City, LA, Miami, Newark, New York, Philadelphia, San Diego, San Francisco, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C.
Yes.
But
all of those are heavily populated by people of color.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So, do they isolate that to those particular, locations? All right, so take Atlanta. So let's use Atlanta, for example. Where at in Atlanta are they saying that this is where it's going down?
In Atlanta, the metro Atlanta area. I mean, it's so bad. We see it on our local news all the time. But that's what I'm saying. It's like how people say kids are desensitized to violence. I think a lot of the times people hear that, it's like, okay, and then they just go on. It's not until, and that's why I said I had to make it personal and share my story about my niece. Because there were many times when I'm coming into work and I'm tired because I've been up all night talking to her mom, or up all night because we've been taking shifts at the hospital, and people don't understand when you say, okay, yeah, you got a family member that's sick, but to watch a child go through something like that, to watch, even for me, it was painful to watch a mother say goodbye to their youngest child. I don't ever want to ever in my life have a front seat to that ever again. So if it takes my big mouth talking about it, I'm going to talk about it, because people need to know it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Like, it really was like a bomb went off in my family. It was a lot of shit behind it because people didn't know their place. You know, it was people that was very standoffish the whole time, okay? But when she passed, everybody wanted to act like, oh, I'm telling you, it blew up in so many aspects. It, like, splintered off into so many different relationships. My relationship with my brother, my relationship with her mother. You understand what I'm saying? The relationship he had with her. My brother wasn't even active in my niece's life. I'm telling you, when I say it's not just a disease of the blood, it's a disease of the mind. It's a disease of action. Like, it infects the entire family. Fuck who's positive or negative. It affects the entire family. And maybe some people do need to go back to. I remember when I was young, if you was a juvenile delinquent, they took you to the morgue and you literally saw dead fucking bodies. Like, if they scared your ass from acting up in school and drinking and driving. Like, maybe not to shame the patient, but you need to see what that looks like, how painful that is. I've never seen anything like, and I watched my grandfather take his last breath. It's totally different. It's totally fucking different, especially when it's something that can be helped. And then you had the government playing into it, because it wasn't until the little boy Ryan White, it wasn't until he became a little activist, the little teenager in Indiana, it wasn't until he died that Congress passed a bill for it to be government funding for people that were uninsured or that had low income to get insurance for AIDS-related sickness. And that's what I'm saying. It's a little white boy for that to happen. So that's why we can't just wait on somebody else. And I get so angry when I see people so blasé about it, especially young men and women. I'm like, you think that it takes a whole bunch of turns? You think that the person has to look some type of way, or that because they're clean and they come from a good home, that makes a difference? That does not make a difference, because HIV does not have a face. I promise you, we're in elevators in Walmart and at jobs with motherfuckers who rape, with motherfuckers who beat women, with motherfuckers who steal from old people, and motherfuckers who have HIV and AIDS, and we don't know it. But we ostracize the people that we do know about, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Because I should, the same way that if my daughter goes to school and she says to a kid, I have diabetes, they don't pick on her and shit on no playground. If she was born with diabetes, kids would not motherfucking ostracize her. But because these children are ignorant of what really goes on and how you can really catch it, and how and the levels of, you just think, oh, if you touch them, you get it. You don't know about being undetectable. You don't know about all of the lingo that goes with that. That's why I say people need to educate themselves and stop being afraid to talk about it. Stop being afraid to be around people, because we'd be surprised if we all had labels above our head. We would run out of some fucking places if we knew who the hell we were standing by, who we was in a line with. Some people lay with people all day long for years, and a woman don't even know her husband been a serial rapist for 20 years.
Exactly. There's another thing that needs to be addressed with not only HIV, but, cancer. These pharmaceutical companies don't want to cure you. They want to keep you coming back.
Right. Of course.
A month's supply of HIV medicine is around $2,500.
Right.
And sometimes more, because you may not be receptive to the same medicine as someone else is receptive to.
Right.
Wasn't there?
Right.
And I don't know this prick's name, but wasn't there a guy recently? And he was involved. He bought the whole Wu-Tang collection.
Martin Shkreli or whatever His name was Martin. It was Mylon.
Yeah, didn't he do something with some medication? He jacked the price up to like $700 a pill or some stupid shit like that.
From $13 a pill to $700 a pill.
Yeah, so you got shit bags like that. Honestly, I don't. Actually, I'm not gonna go there. I mean, anyway, Not for nothing. But he's a shitbag. But this is what you're dealing with, man. It's crazy. It's really crazy. But like you said, the farmer, they don't want you to get better. They want you to come back and they continue to take the medication. Mm-hmm. Now, here's something very controversial that happened this past year, I want to say, right? Somebody very prevalent in the African American community was considered a healer, holistic healer, Dr. Sebi.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I don't know you guys know who that is. Okay, listen, he was killed he died very strangely. Okay? Right. And I'm going to tell you something. That man was said to have cured AIDS.
Yes.
Okay? And
there are holistic cures.
Right. Now, this is something that he said that was very profound. He said one of the main things of any disease is the presence of mucus. If you have any disease, period, you're always going to have a presence of mucus. Once you get rid of the mucus, then you can get rid of the disease. And he was treating it that way. Your foods, we talked about foods and diet and stuff like that. All right? Not for nothing, I love wine and cheese. Guess what, folks? Cheese ain't really good for you. Cheese creates mucus. Ice cream, dairy products. We can go on and on and on. Any of these things create mucus in your system. All right? So not for nothing, we got to look at stuff like that as well.
Yes, that's right.
But Dr. Sebi, he's world known that he actually cured AIDS, several cases of AIDS. And the courts were after this man. The doctor, everybody on the planet wanted to kill this man, and they eventually did. You understand what I'm saying? So, it is what it is. If he was a quack, he'd still be alive.
Several.
You understand?
Yeah,
you
had to
holistic doctors.
He come here. You had to go to where he was.
Right.
Yeah, in Honduras.
Right. If he was a quack, he'd still be alive. Hey, go figure.
If anybody has time, Google black seed oil.
Yes.
Oh, yes. With that every day. Yeah. I take that every day.
That is known
like
to.
Hell, I do it every day.
I'm gonna get some of that.
Awesome.
Patients is good for AIDS patients. I take it every day.
They say it's a cure for everything except death.
There you go. I'm gonna start taking some.
So what do? You take it daily just by itself?
Take it every morning. It works.
Make it into a tea.
Some people put it in their tea. Some people say honey. Nothing has worked for me but just taking it straight, and I just drink some type of tart juice, usually cranberry juice. If I don't have that,
that's tasting.
Usually,
yeah. Oh no, I've had it before.
That kills you. It's the aftertaste that really.
Yes.
But once you get used to it, it's nothing.
Right. We're gonna have to have a segment today strictly on health, on healthy things, because
I can show you a lot of organic stuff that my doctor has made me take. It's expensive, but it's like, are you gonna pay the doctor bill? Or are you gonna pay for these supplements?
Right.
And it's important to get supplements from the right source. Because a lot of this shit is bullshit. It'll say the same thing, but it really ain't the same thing. So you really have to be diligent on where you're getting it from. I just started this new medicine. It's turmeric, and it has black pepper in it.
Yes,
I take that every morning.
Yeah,
I actually put it under my tongue.
There you go. You get it quicker. Yeah.
Your body will digest it. So they've added that to my regimen and all the other shit I take. But and I'm telling y'all, I'm gagalicious. So if I can do it, anybody can damn do it.
I hear you. Well, not for nothing. I mean, I shared this. I think on the first broadcast and I think I shared that. They diagnosed me with high blood pressure. I actually know the reasons why, between Donald Trump and the bullshit going on, and our people, and dealing with my own people. My
high blood pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm taking this is black tea that I get from Dual, it's in the Village, man. For those of you that are in the New York area listen to the show, man, Dual is the place to be. It's in Alphabet City, I want to say, Lower East Side, LES, and it's a place, man. You can get all types of stuff. So I take this black tea, and I do the turmeric and stuff like that. And I gotta work. I gotta work on that. That. My meditations and shit. I think I said you niggas be wearing me out. I don't know, but it is what it is. I don't know, man. Y'all got to get right. But yeah, health is important though, folks. I'm joking a little bit, but health is important.
Yeah.
And
really
we got to take care of ourselves. And we are gonna do. I think, in fact, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna time it just before Thanksgiving. We're gonna do a health broadcast. Yeah, just to fuck with y'all, because you know how to.
Right,
the shit,
exactly.
Everything goes to the wayside just before Thanksgiving. So
Yeah. Right.
But Sinead, anything, because we, like I said, time goes by quick. Sinead, you got any comments? We wind this down slowly. Any more comments from you, Sinead, and anybody else? But Sinead first. Anything else here in regards to AIDS and HIV and things like that?
Let me just say, I'm so grateful. And I'm going to tell you, I'm so grateful for experiencing what my sister-in-law chose to name my niece, which is a girl. I'm so grateful for that experience. She was a wonderful, wonderful being and force in my life, in my children's lives, my mother's life. So I'm grateful that I was able to talk about her. She was always open about things. I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for the comfort that I have to speak things like forced sterilization or core sterilization and HIV and AIDS in the black community. I'm grateful for everybody who is listening, for people who do press 1. I hope more people press 1. I'm grateful for my co-hosts, the ones that you hear and the ones that you never hear.
Right.
So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I want to say thank you to my creator for this space and time, because he has graced me with an abundant amount of health. I just came out of some surgery that was like hit or miss, and I'm still here, and I plan on staying here for as long as I can, and I'm not going to be quiet the whole time I'm here. So I just want to say thank you to everybody on the phone, everybody listening, everybody that supports me personally and that supports this show. Y'all mean more to me than what you really know. I know I say it all the time to you, but I just, Shell is just like, she's on the line. She has been my rock. She has been my rock, especially through everything when I first got diagnosed with cancer and everything. And she doesn't like accolades. She doesn't like attention, so I'm doing this shit on purpose to aggravate her. I'm sure she will call me after the show. But
I'm
I just wanted to say that. I appreciate all of y'all. And anybody else want to add, they can.
Yeah. Let's go down the line. Let's go Shell, and then let's go Francine, and then let's hit Evelyn. So, Shell, go ahead. Closing comments, Shell.
Okay, after I touched Sinead out of my head. Seriously, I know I made a comment earlier about young people, but another thing is people in their 40s, as far as like the irresponsible sex and ignoring AIDS. I know I have ran into it, and I have heard through several other women how men are not really big on using even condoms now. I don't know if y'all just thinking because you think we're past our baby-making years. I don't know, but the AIDS and the diseases are still there, and they really are not using, and sometimes you have to bring it to them, and it's almost like that's what we're going to do. So it's not just the young people. We have it, it's like mid-age and older people as well. I think that a lot of people get comfortable and think that they don't, because they don't have to get pregnant. So we just have to be across the board. Everybody just needs to be safe.
Right. And you know what? Not for nothing, it doesn't have to be AIDS. They got this, and here's the thing too. I don't know. Gonorrhea's been around. Now they got super gonorrhea. So now
super gonorrhea. That's right.
So now you gotta settle for a condom blowjob, which sucks. But what can I tell you? But anyway, it is what it is. But you know what I'm saying? Why bother? But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So
Jesus Christ.
What can I say? But let's go with
moving on.
Let me get Francine, and then we'll go to Evelyn. Go ahead, Francine. What you got? Closing comments.
Okay. I just want to thank you for sharing your story, and I also want to tell you that I'm very sorry for your loss. But definitely have you're welcome. We definitely do have a lot of work that needs to be done in our communities, not just with HIV/AIDS, but just sexual diseases in general. Because just looking at some comments online with this whole Usher herpes thing, a lot of people are very ignorant. A lot of people are very ignorant about how diseases are spread, and it's just a lot of misinformation out there. And so, I think that there's definitely a need to address this with our young people, as you said, but even older people that just have no clue. And it's like we're at a time now where information is just at your fingertips, but people are just stupider. I don't get it.
Yes, absolutely. Evelyn, what you got for us? Closing comments.
I would just say wrap it up and get educated. It's not hard. Everybody's got a cell phone. Just Google.
Right.
Get educated about anything. Read a book.
Yeah,
put the mirror down and read a book.
How about that? That's revolutionary. Read a goddamn book is right. Yeah, that's revolutionary. Right. That's a statement. D. Craig, and then we'll go Leah. D. Craig, what you got for us, man? Closing comments.
Well, if you get married like Leah and I did yesterday, it was our 2-year anniversary. We don't have to wrap it up. But for the people who are married,
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Go ahead, sir.
That's it for me.
Okay. All right. Leah, what you got for us? Closing comments.
Yeah, I think, again, I may have mentioned something before about mental health and awareness. And
we got to hit that one, too. We're going to do that one, too.
Teach these children young. They wait until they get grown. They deal with all types of mental health issues, and then all of a sudden, you got to go see a counselor. No, we got to educate youth very, very, very young. And I know there's nothing new under the sun, but, for the love of God, you got babies, stay your butt at the club. Quit swinging. Okay? They're going to follow your example. It is what it is. You can wait till your kids get grown and do all that crazy stuff if you want to.
You're right.
Yep. That's it for me.
I'm going to tell you something. So 2 shows we got to make sure happens before the end of the year. We got to do health, and maybe we can tie them together. We can do a double header, health and mental health.
That would be good.
Mental health is the 600-pound gorilla in the room for the black community. The black community does not ever want to talk about mental health in our community. That's a taboo, just like AIDS and HIV. And we don't want to talk about that. So we definitely got to talk about mental health. I shouldn't even say this, but I suffer from PTSD. So, it is what it is. So, mental health is a thing. But
that's part of it. You shouldn't even
get your money.
I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
You should say that so that other people are okay and they feel comfortable. You can say that.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
I
have to normalize it.
Right. I have 2 combat tours under my belt, and I've been in firefights. So, so some things happen, and so it is what it is. But this is something that we don't like to admit to, So this is a conversation that we need to have in our community because it adds to the shit that's already going on with us as a people. Okay,
definitely.
We have once we get to this world out the womb, we're in the shit, as they say. We're in the shit. And then you add other things into it, and things become complicated. So, this is what happens. I remember, in my younger years, after my first tour, I remember being, laying up in the bed, with a significant other, and waking up, and she woke me up. I had my hands around the woman's neck because I was having a flashback. And so this is part of PTSD. You understand what I'm saying? So something that I sought help for, not consistently like I should have back then, but this is something that goes on, and I look at some of my fellow veterans who have had several, 4 and 5 deployments and shit like that, and then you have people and these are the people you have to really, really be concerned about that love being on deployment. Something's wrong when you just want to stay there. And you're on 5 and 6 deployments, and you're like, no, I'm good. No, you're not good. You understand? So, this is things that we need to discuss. So it is what it is. But we're gonna have those topics coming for you folks, and again, every Tuesday night, 7:30 to 9:30. Francine, I'm so glad I know this is your second time with us.
Yes.
You dropped some jewels early on in the show and during the show, and I appreciate you. I love you to death, Francine. Me and you go back.
I love you too. And thank you. Yes, we do.
Yeah, I got mad love for you.
I always have a great time on the show.
Yeah, man, I got mad love for you, man. We go way back. These waters run deep with me and you. So, I appreciate you on, and thank you so much for joining us. And I also want to say this to our friends and loved ones in PR. I'm hoping that they get the help that they need.
Yeah.
And I hope PR bounces back. I mean, the devastation that I'm seeing.
I hope so too.
On
terrible.
That island is horrible. My goodness, I'm seeing people.
They're strong people. We will bounce back, Bodie Squad. They're gonna bounce back.
Yes.
No doubt.
That's right. I want to hear y'all talk about WEPA in a few months. You know what I'm saying? So, that's it. So, but that being said, though, we will be back next week. We'll have a topic posted before the end of the week, and check us out. And listen, everybody that's on this phone right now.
About the show next week.
Yeah.
What the show is about next.
Well, why don't you?
You want me to do it?
Yeah, you do it. You do it. Then I got something else. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just tell you. Next Tuesday, October the 3rd, is Relationship Tuesday.
Boom.
And we will be about parenting adult children, the relationship between parents and adult children in that transition.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So y'all please call in and press 1 next Tuesday, October the 3rd.
That's going to be a good one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And not for nothing, please, we post the shows also on YouTube. If you like the show and you support the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the same as here, Real Talk All the Time. You can find us on YouTube. Please press subscribe on YouTube as well. We appreciate your support. We're not charging no money, nothing like. We're not asking for no paper. We just want your support. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And you can still catch us on iTunes, Twitter. I think I'm unbanned now. So Twitter.
And we have a website.
Yeah, and www.realtalkallthetime.com. And we're still on Stitcher Radio. Stitcher Radio also carries our show as well. So you can catch us, even if you missed the initial broadcast, you can catch us on iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. Please press like and subscribe. Okay. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and wind this down. I want to thank everybody, Sinead. Wonderful topics. And everybody that called in, we appreciate you and thank you for your support. Everybody be safe, be strong, and love each other, man. Life is short. We out of here. Peace.
Good night.
Good night.
Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.